managing the government, foreign affairs, the economy, inflation, and tariffs. His approval rating is under 50%. Joining us now is Republican Congressman Ryan Zinke of Montana. He sits on the House Foreign Affairs and Appropriations Committee. He was also the Interior Secretary during the first Trump administration. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. I'm not calling you Mr. Secretary, I'm calling you Congressman, because that's what you are right now.
Good. Great to be with you, as always.
Call me Wolf. All right, looking at these low approval numbers right now, and I know you're a member of Congress, so you're interested in politics. Does the president need to change course dramatically right now?
Well, the president is doing exactly what he said he would do, and I think it's mixed. I think where he's done exceptional is on immigration. We have solved that problem to a degree. Now we're attending to removing the gangs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Tariffs brought uncertainty to the market.
If you take a look at these numbers on specific issues on immigration, he's only got a 45% approval rating right now, so he's got to work harder.
He's got to work harder, but also are our streets safer? And the answer is yes. Remember, there's a reason why 10,000 Mexicans are patrolling the southern border, and why the Royal Mounties are patrolling the northern border, is because it was President Trump's policy. We're making the streets safer by removing, the villainous individuals that are involved in the crime, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, et cetera. So I think on immigration, he's doing exactly what he said he would do. The economy is fickle. The economy, people are hurting, and people are hurting in Montana. And tariffs,
Do you think the tariffs, the trade war that he's launched against so many countries around the world, is a disaster?
I wouldn't say a disaster. President Trump has a tendency to do the shotgun, but he also looks for the deal. I'm more of a surgical, former SEAL Team 6. I like the surgical, hit rather than the broad shotgun. But we do.
Farmers at the agricultural field in your state of Montana is suffering big time.
Well, but if the end result is this, we can't be vulnerable to fickle allies or adversaries for key components of the economy. We're talking about solar cells. We're talking about critical minerals, things that drive the technology part, and we found ourselves to become vulnerable. And it first started, is the lowest price, is it the best value? Over time, probably Nike, other companies started it. We'll manufacture in China where we can get, the best, quote, value on price. But it also comes at a cost. It comes at a cost environmentally. Remember, 90% of the world's plastic comes from 4 rivers in China. And when companies go into China and pay child wages and without environmental regulation, it costs us all. But looking at it now, fast forward, where we are in the economy, we don't manufacture as much as we should. We don't manufacture critical components as we should, and all of a sudden we find ourselves vulnerable to foreign interests.
On this issue, Congressman, of the economy, his approval numbers on the economy, and they used to say it's the economy, stupid going into an election, as you know. On the economy, his numbers hit an all-time CNN low at this point. Just 39% support the way he's handling the economy. It largely stems from his decision to impose all these tariffs. And you said, and you've just said again, you're willing to give the president more time to execute his tariff strategy. But is time running out? A lot of your fellow Republicans in the House, they're very nervous looking ahead to the election that's coming up.
Well, because America is not doing well economically. You look at the bond market, for instance, and there's 2 big decisions coming up. One is, can we control the spending? We don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. And the bond market doesn't lie. When we're borrowing so much money, when we're facing the debt we are, now in the mid-$30 trillion range, it is a concern to us all. And if the bond market goes up, for Americans, what does that mean? It means home mortgages are more expensive. It means interest rates are more expensive. Access to capital becomes tighter. That's a big, big issue. So I think the headwinds on this, we need to make sure that the tariffs are effective and short-lived. And secondly, we have to show that we can control our spending. If we do those 2 things, I think the economy will start to pick up.
While I have you, Congressman, I'll turn to the war in Ukraine right now. Russia is proposing, as you know, a 3-day ceasefire for next month. This comes as the White House tries to negotiate a permanent ceasefire, which would have Ukraine cede significant chunks of its territory to Russia. Former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton calls that proposal surrender and says it will embolden China and other rogue states to do the same thing. Your response?
Well, I think the ceasefire is nothing more than a holiday for Russia. Let's be clear.
The 3-day ceasefire that he's proposing.
It is.
So you think the U.S. and Ukraine should reject it?
I'm always for a ceasefire, but I don't think it's meaningful. I think it's just a small holiday.
It's a start, though.
It's a start, because there's less killing. But at the end of the day, a permanent peace, I think a permanent peace would mean Crimea Peninsula would stay with Russia, probably a land bridge between. Are
you okay with Crimea, part of Ukraine for a long, long time, being given over to Russia?
Well, it was Russia's for about 800 years. In the context, that's their only freshwater port. It's analogous to the Mississippi River to us. So I think on the Crimean Peninsula, which is largely
Russian. But you know
Russian.
that when Gorbachev signed that agreement, and I was in Moscow at the time, ending the Soviet Union after 70 years of communist rule, he promised all the former republics of the Soviet Union, including Ukraine and all the other republics of the then Soviet Union, they would be independent and free and wouldn't have to worry about their territory. And now take a look at Russia under Putin is threatening to annex parts of Ukraine.
Well, let's be clear. Putin is a war criminal. I think he's the face of a war criminal. I don't think he also perceived that Ukraine would be moving into NATO. That was a problem for Russia, or limit their access to the Black Sea. And also, what I think probably drove it was Afghanistan. The U.S. position was weak. He looked at an opportunity, and he took it. So, again, I think at the end of the day,
you don't think Crimea should be handed over to Russia as a permanent part of Russia?
When my belief is, I think Crimean Peninsula is a part of Russia right now, and I don't think it's going to be.
So you would take it away from Ukraine?
I would probably, in order to have peace, this is what I'd probably do. I'd probably have a land bridge in Crimean Peninsula, and I'd make it demilitarized on it because I value trade.
I don't think they're going to be welcoming you in Ukraine anytime soon as a result of that. Congressman Zinke, as usual.